A silver-blue rift rips open above a familiar Minecraft plane, spilling runelight and the scent of ancient forests. Gandalf steps through, a lone, robed silhouette bringing a kind of magic the overworld has never seen. He listens, the grass bending under a wind that smells of pipeweed and pine, while distant villagers stop and tilt their heads toward a light that is not theirs. Creepers freeze mid-hiss and cows lower their blocky jaws, as if listening to the syllables of an old-world remembered song. He walks across square-old earth with a staff that shines like a captured comet, and villagers whisper that the gray beard carries thunder in his pockets and soft rain in the cuff of his cloak. They say when he speaks the moon listens and stone remembers its old name slowly. Around him, the overworld breathes differently, as if held for a moment in a child's hands, and the sky stitches new stars where the rift's light laced itself into night like silver thread. Mossy ruins recall their names, ancient maps unfurl in the minds of wandering skeletons, and wolves lift old songs to unfamiliar moons. And wolves lift. Gandalf speaks once, a low syllable like a bell struck beneath snow, and the nearest oak sprouts lanterns of amber leaf that glow with runes no map of the overworld had ever charted, letters of another realm curling warmly around the bark. Adventurers kneel, unknowing priests to sudden miracles today. Word ripples across biomes like a fishtail wake, players with diamond and leather both rush, eyes wide with the greed of curiosity and the reverence of those who have found a font of story halfway between their palms and the mouth of the world. They press forward like hungry pilgrims. A young miner with a scar on his cheek lifts his sword and then lowers it, because the blade tastes of sea salt and remembered oaths, and he understands in a thought that some things arriving through rifts are older than blood, older than craft, older than the clink of coin. Gandalf moves as if time itself were a cloak. He can shift, he stoops to tie a frightened villager's shoe, whispers a recipe into the ear of a wandering wolf, and gifts a luminous map to a lost cartographer whose hands tremble like birch leaves. He says each path matters. From his satchel come odd presents, a block of stone that when struck sings stories of mountains, a jar of stardust that mends a shattered pickaxe, and a thimble of rain that will call down a single, honest storm upon the thirstiest field. Children trade cookies for miracles, eyes burning. Not all reactions are gentle. A warlord from a crimson fortress arrives, iron teeth chattering, wanting power to smelt empires, and he tries to bargain with Gandalf for lightning and banners, for the sort of devastating knowledge that unravels villages into ash. Gandalf's eyes cool like moonstone refusing hunger's whisper. There is a hiss and a clatter as Endermen study him from the purple distance, their heads cocked like ravenous scholars, and one reaches forward, tentative, offering a teleport stretch of memory that smells of vanilla and endless night. Gandalf smiles with the fatigue of ages and takes it gently now. From the rifts seem pour other small miracles, sheep who remember lullabies, pumpkins that when carved sing epics, and a compass that points not to spawn but to stories, its needle trembling toward the nearest throat that needs a tale and the nearest hand that can listen quiet, hungry, ready. Not all gifts are harmless artistry. Within the satchel rests a blade that cuts ties to loneliness, but it asks in return that its bearer speak truths aloud. Truths which in a world of creepers and redstone can topple friendships and topple thrones with equal, terrible grace like thundered vows. There are moments he pauses and looks at the blocky sea, eyes reflecting the horizon, and a fisherman shudders because the old man seems to watch a ship that died 1,000 deaths. The fisherman cannot see it, but he feels the tug in his soul like an ancient line. Once under a hot sun, a group of players gather to watch, while Gandalf plants a single sapling. He sprinkles stardust and speaks the old phrase, and the sapling grows at a pace that frightens time itself. its rings revealing ages of mountains that never were and cities dream beneath. The Ender Dragon circles above unfamiliar constellations and pauses. Confused as if a king arrived wearing a foreign crest, it tastes the air and finds it charged with lore and remembers. In a fragment like a favored memory, the sound of drums from a land it had never seen. Gandalf tells stories to a council of villagers and creepers who listen with rapt attention, and the narrative weaves a web through their lives, teaching the blacksmith when to temper steel and the farmer where to plant silver beans. And the creeper learns a lullaby that quiets its hunger for mischief. From the horizon, a silhouette rides, a torchlit caravan of librarians and librarians' cats bearing heavy scroll cases. They come to trade lore, to copy spells into weather-worn codices, and to argue over the proper way to fold a map that points to both treasure and sorrow as dusk leans closer. The server's admin watches from a tower of glass, fingers paused above keyboard, and they realize their rules are small things against the flood of legend. They choose, after a long breath, to allow Gandalf space to weave, trusting that some wonders cannot be contained by patch notes or updates. Rumors form like mushrooms in the shade. Some say the rift is a wound, others that it is a gift, and a few stubborn sages insist it is a mirror, reflecting back what the overworld would be if bravery and kindness were taken as currency rather than iron and gold. The first gift is a ring, not gold but woven light, slipped upon the finger of a shy tinker who has mended more than gear. She finds the ring, murmurs the names of lost inventions, and gives her a confidence that is not loud but steady, like metronome for courage. The second gift arrives like dawn, seeds of glass that when planted grow lantern trees whose fruit are orbs of memory, and those who pluck them can relive moments they have forgotten, tasting grief and triumph as if they were spices in a stew of self, stirred slowly with wonder always. Gandalf's presence is not conquest but invitation. He teaches the smith to temper truth into armor, shows the witch how to braid night into shadows, and lets the healer touch a wound and hear the name of the thing that hurt. So healing becomes an answer rather than a guess. But not everyone is patient with miracles. A guild of redstone engineers grows suspicious, because a world that bends to stories threatens the precision of their contraptions. And they fear that if narratives can reroute fate, then every piston and lever is a sermon waiting to happen in clever disguise. Gandalf speaks with them at dawn, leaning upon a post by a redstone gate, and he praises their craft, calling gears a kind of poetry and timing a song. Then he teaches a simple enchantment to keep circuits from learning cruelty, because even logic must be gentled by wisdom here. At night, the rift hums like a sleeping engine, drawing moths and mines. Lonely players send ships of signs and songs into its tongue, and those who listen can hear languages folding into each other, as though the overworld is learning the names of stars from another sky softly always. A rivalry brews between a proud paladin and a humble bard. The paladin wants laws written in stone from Gandalf's advice, to bind the rift with edicts, while the bard pleads for stories to be free, unbound and wandering, to be shared from campfire to campfire like wandering bread always. Gandalf answers with a tale of a bridge that loved both travelers and river. He says rules hold when they keep harm away, but become chains when they forget mercy. And the paladin's jaw unclenches because the tale cuts clean like a blade into a stubborn knot, and Rain listens. Sometimes the rift gives harder things. A mirror that shows a man his possible deaths, a cauldron that brews regret into an edible potion, and a staff that will point directly to a heart's desire, but with the honesty of a hawk, indifferent to comfort or consequence and plain truths. An old hermit takes the mirror and refuses, because he has known too many ends and prefers the surprise of mornings. But a queen uses the staff. and finds that her desire points not to crowns, but to a child she abandoned in the cold months of a distant winter. The queen weeps in the privacy of a temple, and then she goes to the emerald plains that show little faces when the grass bends, and she finds the child and knits a new family like someone repairing a tattered banner with patient hands and golden thread under slow sun. Word arrives that a rival wizard seeks the rift's core. He is called Mordru in whispered rumor, a man whose laboratories turn to obsidian, and he covets Gandalf's seeds, not for beauty, but to harvest ghosts into engines that would grind free will into clean fuel for his silent throne. Gandalf hears this like a bell tolling in a cave. He gathers a circle of those who love stories. Tinkerers, old sailors, librarians, a shy Enderman who collects trinkets for reasons she can't name, and they stand beneath the rift to weave warding with songs and stubborn hands and patience. They weave in public, not to hide but to teach. Knots that hold laughter, braids that catch sorrow and let it be sorted, and stitches that teach the land where to keep its fierce things and where to lay down its teeth, so that the rift will be a seam. The warding holds for days like a good meal, but Mordru comes disguised as a trader with a cart of blackglass trinkets. He sells promises and paper, and the trinkets hum when he uncaps them, because he has learned the sad mathematics of tempting the hungry with easy light now. A single trader sells a box that, when opened, plays back the most flattering version of your life. And entire camps go silent as they each watch themselves become heroes for a pleasant hour, until the hour ends and the pleasantness curdles into a dangerous hunger for applause and prizes. Gandalf is saddened and stern. He uncloses his staff and teaches that applause can be a tool of corruption. And he offers a ritual of reflection that turns the boxes into wind chimes. So the hollow images become music to remind people of what is true rather than what is pleasing. In one quiet hour, Gandalf walks to the rift and speaks to it like a sailor coaxing a whale. And the rift answers with colors and taste of salt. It will not be closed, it says, but it will learn manners if the people teach it. And so they begin. Villagers teach the rift patience by singing lullabies at its edge. Tinkerers show it the joy of careful make and mend. And children run games that reward sharing. Even murderous tricksters find themselves softened when a simple bread is given to a stranger, asking only for a story in return each afternoon. And Gandalf watches, content but wary, knowing every gift asks a shadow in return soon.